Hello everyone, good to see you back again. Welcome to my channel's tutorial section. Today we'll be learning how to carve a permanent maxillary first molar. Here you can see its different aspects. It's the largest tooth in the maxillary arch with 4 main and 1 supplementary cusp and 3 roots. We'll be carving left one. So let's start. First we'll mark the aspects of the tooth: buccal, mesial, lingual and distal. Now we'll mark the crown length at 7.5 mm. And now the root length, which is maximum 13 mm. Now mark the mesio-distal width of the crown to 10.5 mm, which is 0.5 mm more than the actual. Mark it on the opposite too. And also on the occlusal aspect of the block, like this. Now we'll cut straight along these markings to the crown length, but first we'll make the V-shaped notches at the cervical. Now we'll carve to make the straight parallel walls till these notches. Keep verifying the required dimensions. Now mark the labio-lingual width of the crown to 11.5 mm, which is again 0.5 mm more than the actual. Make the notches at the markings and carve straight down to make a cuboid. Make straight parallel wall within the marked dimensions and keep verifying. Okay, so now we have made the cuboid. Now we'll mark the mesio-distal width at the cervical, that is 8 mm on both buccal and lingual aspects. Like this. Okay, now a brief description of the buccal aspect. This is mesial side. The mesial outline starts outwards from the cervical, a little straight, till the contact area at 2/3 occlusal height, that is junction of the middle and occlusal third, and then turns into the cusp tip level, which is 1/4 the crown width approximately. The distal outline is more convex till the contact area in the middle third, and then turn inwards to the cusp tip, which is also at 1/4 the crown width. From buccal aspect, the slightly distal surface is visible. Okay, let's carve. First we'll mark the notches at the cervical markings. Okay. Now as discussed, mesial crest of the contour will be here at this level at 2/3. Okay. And on the distal it will be in the middle. So first we'll carve the mesial outline. Keep carver blade at low angle. And make straight, slightly inclined outline till 2/3 level. See, at this level. Keep it close to this point, but don't make sharp angle. Like this. Now we'll contour the mesial outline to 1/4 cusp tip level. This is half width, so cusp tip will be here. We'll mark this half and 1/4 should come here. Same in the distal half. So now we'll be contouring the mesial to the marked 1/4 level. Keeping the carver at an angle to make the slope from the crest of contour to cusp tip. See, need to slant this more. See, we are connecting the cusp tip to the crest in a slope. Keep slope slightly above the crest level so that no sharp angle is made. Check the crest level. Note we have not made a sharp angle. Okay, now on distal side. As mentioned earlier, distal outline has crest in the middle and converging to the cusp tip at 1/4 level. Roughly mark the crest of the contour. Now we'll carve from the cervical till the marked level. Don't make straight slope, rather a convex outline. See, I'm keeping slightly away from the exact marking. This helps in developing a nice contoured outline rather than sharp angles. Now converging to the cusp tip. Technique is same as for the mesial. See a little more towards the cusp tip. Check. Curvature of cervical half needs to be made subtle. Carve with the flat end of the blade very lightly. Similarly, run above the contour to clear any sharp line angles. A little here. Now see. First we'll clear and then proceed. We are done with the mesial and distal outlines from the buccal aspect. Now we'll do from the proximal aspect. First, mark the labio-lingual width at the cervical, that is 10 mm. Mark dividing evenly at both ends. Okay, so now on the proximal mesial aspect. Let's describe the outline of the crown. The buccal outline starts with a short incline till the crest of the contour, which is in the cervical third only. Then it turns almost straight towards the cusp tip, which also lies approximately 1/4 marking buccolingually within the confines of the cervical dimension. Now the lingual outline starts from the cervical with convex outline till the crest of the contour, which lies in the middle of the crown height, and then it curves towards the cusp tip, which lies in the center of the root confines. Rather say it's more towards the mid of the crown from 1/4 level. So now we'll carve the buccal outline, having short curvature till this 1/3 cervical level. We mark the cervical dimensions here. Start by making small notch. See, there is very little difference in the cervical and the crown dimensions of just 1 mm, that is 0.5 mm on buccal and 0.5 mm on lingual. So even without marking the cervical, you can make the notches slightly deep. Like this. Now a slope from this crest to the cusp tip. Cusp tip will be around here at 1/4 level within the cervical dimensions. Around this much level. Let's start. Use back straight side of the carver. See the slope. A little more. Check from the other side too. Coming out fine. Removing any sharp line angles with gentle strokes. Yeah, fine now. Now similarly for the lingual outline, keeping crest of the contour in the middle and cusp tip more than 1/4 inside as discussed earlier. Okay, let's start. Similar to start of buccal outline, start with small notches at cervical. Curvature as explained earlier starts similar to the buccal outline, but crest of the contour is in cervical third in buccal and here it is in middle. Okay. Need to get the crest of the contour in the middle. Let's mark it roughly. Carve close to it to get a nice contoured surface later rather than a sharp angle. Now keep the cusp tip level here in the center of the root. So it will be coming around here. See, it's almost more than 1/4. Now carve slightly curved slope till the crest of the contour. Check out the crest contour level. The level of cusp tip, it should be slightly more towards the center. Okay, let's clean and check. Now it seems fine. A little correction here. Slight concavity is there below the crest of the contour on the mesial. Gently carve at the crest to reduce the concavity. A little more. Like this. Let's clean and proceed. Okay, so we are done with the proximal outlines from the buccal aspect, also from the proximal, the buccal and the lingual outlines. Now we'll do the occlusal outline. Now to briefly describe the occlusal outline, it is grossly rhomboidal in shape. It has 4 major cusps, 2 buccal and 2 palatal. All cusp ridges along with the marginal ridges form this rhomboidal shape. And grossly if we see, The buccolingual dimension of mesial half is greater than distal half, so distal half will be shorter. And mesio-distal dimension of lingual half is greater than the buccal half, so buccal half will be shorter in dimension. This makes the distobuccal side inwards from the buccal, and since the lingual will be broader, so the distobuccal will be inwards from the distal here. So in total, the distobuccal angle will be inwards from the distal as well as from the buccal. Also remember that while reducing it, follow the slope and the contour of buccal and also of the distal. So what we'll do is, we'll keep our carver at the same angle as of the slope and then carve to get the distal surface inwards. So let's carve. Do it on the distal half. See? Check. And you can see the surface going inside towards the palatal. Don't worry about the crest of the curvature. I'll tell you how to achieve it again. Okay, coming back. Do a little more. Yeah, like this. Just even up the surface. Now for the level of the crest of contour, carve below the cervical following the angle of its slope. This will give the crest at the same level as before. Carve at the same angle at the cervical. And there you go. See, we have achieved the crest and the slope too. Check again. See? A little bit more. A little below the crest. Evening up. Okay. We also know that buccal is distally narrower, so we'll carve more in this area. So similar to what we did earlier, we'll carve this side. Will be developed as the curvature later. Start almost from the mid, buccolingually. Keep a check on the contact area. See? Like this. Slightly more. Now we need to manage this contour back to its level. So again carve from below and you'll safely reach the contact area. Also slightly above the contact to get the correct contour. See, we also need to carve a little more at cervical. So the whole distal length of the buccal will be coming inside. We should understand that the cervical dimension here will be little less than on the palatal, and the full cervical dimension will be maintained by these portions only. So we can still reduce here. Okay. Check. Slightly even up. Okay, now see, we have slight visibility of distal surface. We'll do it slightly more. Right? Just even up this transition. Okay. Now we'll round off these line angles and get the proper contoured shape. Use back side of the carver, round off following the curvatures or the slopes of the outlines. Just run the carver along the slopes. See? A little more rounding here. Continue for the other corners. A little more rounding off here. See, it's fine. Similarly on the lingual side. Okay, so now we are done with the occlusal outline. Check that the buccal half is mesio-distally narrower at distal and the distal half is buccolingually narrower at buccal. Okay, now we'll describe the occlusal aspect briefly. The occlusal is divided into 4 cusps, 2 buccal and 2 palatal. The 2 buccal cusps are divided by the extension of buccal groove called as the buccal groove of central fossa, which ends in the central pit here. And the lingual cusps are divided by the extension of lingual groove called as the distal oblique groove. These grooves are connected by the transverse groove of oblique ridge, which ends here in the central pit. From here, central groove runs mesially in a very slight palatal direction. It goes in very gentle mesio-palatal direction. So first we'll mark it all. So the buccal groove will be coming around here, extending occlusally as buccal groove of central fossa, roughly in mid, very slightly towards the distal. Okay. The lingual groove will be running in the mid of the lingual surface and then extending as the distal oblique groove. Like this. It ends slightly before the marginal ridge here. Just a little more. And then we'll connect the transverse groove. Like this. Now the central groove, as discussed earlier, from the central pit is in a very slightly mesiopalatal direction. The marginal ridges will be lowered as done for the premolars. So just carve a concavity. Gradually lower the marginal ridges. Don't reach till the cusp tips. It will be shallower on the mesial and deeper on the distal. Like this. You can use a Zales carver for smoother curved surface. You can do it till the contact point level. See? Now use a sharp smaller carver to carve slopes of each cusp. Use the markings as the guide and carve slopes. This will develop a ridge over here. Carve deeper in the center and shallow at outer. See, we are developing the slope of this cusp. First do a very gross preparation. Similarly for the distal slope of the mesio-buccal cusp. See? Making it a bit clean. Just like that. Okay. Making mesial slope. Deepening towards the central groove. Slightly define the grooves. A little from the slopes of the mesiopalatal cusp. See, we got the cusp slope of the mesio-buccal cusp. Similarly do for the distal slope of the distobuccal cusp. See, it's quite similar to what we did on the premolars. A simple way of making cusp is carving slopes on either side to develop the cusp ridge. Okay? Always keep the carving clean to visualize better. Let me adjust the light and focus. Okay, so we know that each cusp has a triangular ridge common to all posteriors, which is broad at base and slightly tapered to the tip. Now the distal part of the mesiopalatal cusp will continue to join the cusp ridge of the distobuccal cusp. This continuous ridge is called oblique ridge, divided by the transverse groove. Okay. Now let's separate the two lingual cusps by carving the distal oblique groove. Since it is the extension of lingual groove, we'll start from the mid and keep it inclined towards the distal. See? Keep carving at an angle. This will help in developing the slope of the cusp. See the cusp tip developing. Reach towards the distal pit. See the cusp. Continue deepening the groove. Okay, now we'll develop the slope of the palatal cusp and also the cusp ridges. We'll also carve the transverse groove and also the triangular ridge, making the mesial distal slopes of the cusp. Its cusp tip will be coming here, a little close to the distal cusp, not in the center mesio-distally. Let's start. Carve a slight slope following the groove. Carve more in depth as reaching the center. Like this. See? Now we'll carve the slope of this cusp toward the center. More in the center. Now develop the transverse groove by carving the cuspal slope to the depth. See, we are getting the groove. Now we have developed a very gross occlusal shape. Now adjust a little from outside. Just defining the buccal groove a bit. Slightly carve slopes on the either side of the groove. Check palatal groove. Defining the groove and the slopes around. Very slight slope along the mesiopalatal cusp. Okay, now see. We'll clean now and then proceed. Okay, so we are done with the gross occlusal carving. We have the lowered marginal ridges. Also, we have prepared the central pit, the buccal groove and the distal oblique groove. Now we'll carve further. Here we can see that the cusp tip is slightly too mesial. We'll carve it to make it in mid of cusp, and also we'll carve a little more from the buccal. First we'll crack this slope. Carve along the slope to shift it slightly distal from the buccal groove. From buccal, if we see, we are moving the cusp tip away from the center. Continue with light strokes. See, the cusp ridge has shifted to distal. It has now opened up. See, from the buccal, slightly carve this mesial slope to shift the tip distally. Now this seems fine. A little correction on the distal slope of the mesio-buccal cusp. Now it's fine. Just even up the slopes a bit. Now carving the cusp slightly inwards. Carve from buccal as earlier, very slightly. See? Okay. And now the cusp tip of the mesiopalatal will be slightly inwards so that it completes the rhomboidal outline. It will be at this angle. Cusp tip will be about here with slope till the central groove. So we'll make a steep slope to the deep groove. Deepen the groove as well. Do it from both sides of the groove. Carving the grooves will let you decide the lower limit of the cusp ridge. Follow the shape of the fissures. Okay. Now we'll make the slope which will develop the cusp ridge. See the cuspal ridge? This part. Check now. A roughly developed cuspal ridge. This should be extending till here as the marginal ridge. See this ridge here? Now we'll carve the fifth cusp, which is also called the cusp of cerebelli, so that this mesiopalatal cusp becomes prominent. To make the cusp of cerebelli, we need to carve by keeping the carver at this angle. Carve making a broad V shape crossing the mesiopalatal line angle. Like this. You can also do just by drawing it first and then carving it along. So now carve following the slope of the cusp along the marked groove and make it angled till the cusp ridge. Follow this curvature. Now see, we are getting the fifth cusp and also the cuspal ridge. This outer cusp shape should be coming like this, completing the rhomboid shape. So we'll carve a little more on this side. See, slowly we are getting the shape. Also extend the groove of the fifth cusp in this side. Make the groove a little deep. Also extend it downward here too. Also give a slight bevel to make the slope of the fifth cusp so that it opens up. See the groove? Now bevel it. We can also make the cusp tip. Just carve the slopes on either side. See? It is looking quite fine now. We still need to get this angle to achieve the rhomboid look. Also, we'll make the cusp tip soon. View from mesial. Need to carve a little more on the slope. By doing this, we'll get the required angle and the desired rhomboidal outline. Check out now. Seems okay. Let's clean and proceed. Okay, so now we'll make this surface angled. Should be slightly more inside. Also see, we still don't have a cusp tip. We'll develop the cusp tip around here by developing the slope on either side. Also, we'll open up the distopalatal cusp by carving the cusp tip to the distal and making its mesial slope. This will shift the tip here. So first, the mesiopalatal cusp, slightly rounding off this line angle. Like this. Now the cusp tip would be about here. Slightly carve the slope on either side. Use a slightly blunt carver. See, you will be maintaining the cusp ridge also. Similarly do on this side. Okay, check now. See the cusp tip developed. We'll refine and deepen this groove. It will be more clear when we'll carve the slope of this cusp. Keep carver at an angle to get the cusp tip here. See, like this we are defining the distal oblique groove also. See? Carve deeper towards the center. Now you can see the cusp tips. Need to lower this distal slope. Slightly even up. We should remember to keep this ridge connected here with the disto-buccal cusp ridge, as this will form the oblique ridge. Now see, the cusp tips, their slopes, and the fifth cusp. Need to get the cuspal ridge for the buccal cusp. See, here we have it on palatal cusps. Slightly will develop here too. Just carve along the slopes on the outer of the cusp only. You'll start seeing the edge of the ridge. See, here too. A little here also. Check. See? From distal, this marginal ridge should be slightly deeper so that these triangular ridges are visible. Use smaller carver. We will also carve the distal pit and the transverse groove here, so it will be more visible. First, extend the mesial slope of the cusp toward the marginal ridge. Just like that. Just clearing the grooves. Now check again. Need to clear the lingual groove. Just rounding off and smoothing. Okay, like that. Check on buckle also. Slightly define this buckle groove too. Use tip of the carver to deepen it a bit and then carve on either side to make very subtle slopes. Now check out from all sides. Now we need to add a few details on each cusp. Okay, so now we need to add a few details to the cusps. We'll use a Zales carver. Just check here. This cusp extension should have been coming in straight line to get the rhomboidal shape. Also, this cusp end should be lowered, which will be done while adding the details. Okay, so first we'll manage this one. Just slightly carve it at an angle to get in straight line with the mesio-buccal cusp. A little more. Fine for now. Define the lingual groove again and even up. This will do. Getting the angled palatal surface, rest later. A little on this side too, to make it look more angled. A few strokes on both to match their surfaces, lightly. Okay, fine. A little correction might be needed at the final finishing. So now we'll carve the details on the cusp. It is similar to what we did on the premolars. Just carve shallow depressions a little away from the cusp ridge. Carve the depressions on either side. Let's start. Using a blunt Zales carver, start with very small depressions. See? You can also carve in this motion, making a shallow concavity. Like this. Now make it deeper. Similarly do on the other side. Carve in scooping motions. Okay? Check. Now you can see the prominent triangular edge here with the depressions on either side, and here supplementary fissure too. Now even up the depressions with very light strokes. Right? See, it is sharp, close to the cusp. Smoothen it. Check. This makes it broad at base and narrow at the tip. Further, you can use a sharp pointed instrument to define and deepen the grooves. This will make the cusps well demarcated. This is to be done with very light hand. Now you can see a well demarcated mesiobuccal cusp. We can smoothen it now using light strokes along the slopes of depressions. Either use a blunt Zales carver or beaver tail end of the carver. You can see the cusp ridge coming out. Define this fissure getting closer to the marginal ridge. Like this. Okay. Now similarly do for the distobuccal cusp. See? Do a little more. Observe the movement of the carver. Continue as we did for the mesiobuccal cusp. Carving the slope to make the ridge. This ridge will be continuous here as oblique ridge. Now make supplemental groove here to separate the distobuccal cusp from the distolingual cusp. Defining and clearing the grooves. Okay, now see, you are getting this edge here. Just smoothing the fissures, the depressions. Like this, you can see the features developed now. Clean and define the fissures again. Since these get clogged with the wax flakes, so always keep them clean. Okay, now make the transverse groove crossing the oblique ridge. Also, we need to increase this slope a bit so that we get a deep occlusal. See from here, this slope. Okay. Carve very gently on the edge of the ridge and then on the either side of it to get the edge back with a steeper slope. Okay, like this. A little slope here too, taking to the depth of the groove. A little here too. Keep fissures and groove clean. Just refining and defining. Clearing and smoothing the depressions. Form short scooping strokes. That's clean, and then we'll proceed with the palatal cusps. Okay, let's continue on the palatal one. These will be carved with the depressions on either side of the ridge, similar to the buccal ones. But these two will be having these features a little less prominent. So let's start. Carve shallow depressions on either side. See? Do in scooping motion to make it smooth and even. Check. See, we are getting some features here. Clearing and defining the fissures, again with the pointed instrument. So we have slight depressions with a raised edge here. Slightly polish these depressions using a backside of Zales carver. Okay, so now we'll do for this one. Just need to clean these grooves first. Okay. Similarly for the mesiopalatal cusp. Carving depressions on either side of the cusp ridge. This ridge will be lowered as this one to make the oblique ridge. Yes, this should be lowered like this. So carve it down. Continue with shallow depressions. On mesial cusp ridge, just carve slight concavity as here. Okay. Smoothen the depressions. Clearing wax from the fissures. Okay, now check. We need to lower the slope towards the center slightly. Okay, since now the edge of the ridge is flat, carve slopes on either side to get it back. Right? You can see the cusp tip coming. Slightly shift to distal by carving from mesial of it. Fine. A little touch up here. Slightly deepen close to the cusp tip. Refining the edge of the ridge, carving on either side. Picking up wax flakes from the grooves. Okay, now see, we just need to deepen these fissures and also need to connect these ridges straight to make the oblique ridge. First we'll do for the oblique ridge. Keep the carver at very slight angle and run along both the ridges to make them straight and connected. Clearing along. Need to clear this depression. And also later we'll deepen this distal fossa too. Now we see the ridge is connected here. Slightly slope this distal surface to give a triangular shape. Also a slight slope on the mesial surface too. Smoothing the mesial slope of the oblique ridge. We'll deepen and smoothen all the buccal depressions using blunt tip of the Zales carver. we'll deepen all fissures. Slightly opening up the depression. See, as you open up this, cusp starts looking wider. Check now. The only correction I feel here is to make the distal-lingual cusp look a bit larger and mesio-lingual a bit more angular with slightly deep distal fossa. No worries, we can do it easily. Okay, so now we'll work on the corrections. So first we'll make this cusp larger by making mesio-palatal cusp angular and also slightly deepen this fossa. This all will be done simultaneously. Okay? So to do this, we'll carve here so that this portion is added in the distopalatal one. So let's do it. Go very slow. First just marking the extent, keeping it close to the oblique ridge. Like this. We have marked the new location of the groove. Now we'll develop it further. Now don't carve it too deep. We'll do it very gradually, following the shape of the distopalatal cusp ridge. Now extend the depression into this portion. Do it very gently. Just merging and developing slight depressions. Keep defining the newly marked groove. Keep a very delicate hand. Again, keep merging the depressions with the new groove. Now you can see slight increase in the cusp size. Continue merging the depressions. Now use a sharp pointed instrument to define this groove and clear wax flakes. Follow the earlier shape and contour. Continue merging with light strokes. Slightly extend the lingual groove. And also keep the grooves clean. Keep merging it with the new groove till you get smooth depressions using blunt tip of the Zales carver. Let's clean it properly and then check. Okay, let's see now. We'll define the lingual groove. You see this small bulge here? Just even this up. And also define the lingual groove. Now we'll lower this ridge a bit too. See? Now slightly redefine the depression and the edge of the ridge. Okay, this is fine now. Now one more thing, this distopalatal cusp should not be pointed or sharp, but rounded off. So just carve the tip off and make it rounded. Do it lightly, making it slightly blunt. This will make the cusp look larger. Like this. Just even up. See? Okay? Also refine the transverse groove. Keep the groove free of wax flakes. Okay. Now you can make a supplemental groove here. Using a blunt tip carver, slightly flare this. Keep fissures clean of wax. See? Just a little cleaning here and there. Smoothing the slopes around the fissures and depressions with blunt tip. A little more. Keep cleaning. A slight sloping is required on the distobuccal cusp. Okay. See, now we are done. I can still see wax flakes clogged in the grooves. So let's give a thorough cleaning first. Go very slow and be very gentle. This is speeded up. Okay, now see, we are done with the occlusal carving too. Now we'll do the root carving. So now we'll carve the root, but first we'll again mark the root length if it has faded. Mark it about 13 mm, though buccal will be slightly shorter. Now a brief description. Maxillary molar has 3 roots, 2 buccal, 1 palatal. They all rise from a common base called as root trunk. This trunk is till 4 mm from the cervical. From here, the buccal roots show bifurcation. The bifurcation of the buccal continues as deep developmental groove which gradually shallows till cervical. Both buccal roots have distal inclination, which means that the root axis from the base to tip have distal inclination. Okay, the mesial root starts at right angle from cervical and then in middle third tends to curve distally. Whereas the distal root starts with an acute angle with cervical and then slightly turns outwards and then curves toward mesial. The palatal root is quite simple. It follows a uniform taper to blunt apex in the mid. Okay, so let's start carving. One thing more, we should mark the curvature of the cervical line. The curvature is only on the mesial, so no need to measure it, just roughly mark 1 mm. Like this, and roughly scribble the cervical line. Like this, everywhere else it will be flat only. So first we'll start with the mesial root. It will start straight. We need not to carve the excess wax block straight down as in previous carvings. We'll directly carve the root shape. We'll carve at these corners first. Remove these corners. Carve close to the cervical at base level. Now carefully carve following the curvature of cervical line. Right? Like this. You can see a little palatal portion here. So continue carving the excess wax till the palatal too. And a little below. See, we are carving it approximately till the half length till apex. Keep firm strokes to the full buccolingual width. Check now. You cannot see the palatal portion of the root since it is leveled buccolingually. Now use a larger carver to even up the surface. Just remember not to make any sharp curvatures or any sharp cuts while contouring the roots. Continue. See, we got right angle start of the mesial root. Now we'll carve the distal curvature till apex. We'll carve a shallow groove till the root marking. Now after straight start at the half length, we'll start carving a distal curvature. Slightly. Like this. Okay, let's go. Carve it till the base to mark the apex. First carve in buccal half. Now extend this contour buccolingually. Again, we can demarcate the root length here for the ease of maintaining it. Now you can safely carve. Connecting the two halves. Making the transition subtle. Now carving more at the apex to achieve distal curve. Extending it in apical third. See? Continue. Carving in palatal half doesn't matter now, because this curvature is not followed by the palatal root. You can see a few small angles here. So now we'll even up for a smooth curvature. Use flat side of the carver. See? Remember that the maximum dimension of root mesio-distally will be less than the maximum dimension of the crown. Okay? Now similarly start for the distal root with slight acute angle. So after slight angle it will tilt to distal and at halfway will curve mesial. Okay, so let's start carving. Start with cutting the corner first. Remove excess wax along the cervical line. Do it to the whole buccolingual width. Now carve close to the cervical. This way we will demarcate the start of the root at cervical line. Now I'll make an acute incline. Start carving a little deep, slightly away from the cervical. A little more. Like this. Extend this outline buccolingually. Now at halfway, start giving it a mesial curve. Similarly as we did for the mesial root, but here for the mesial curve. Carve groove at the end of the root marking. Now you can carve safely, maintaining the root length. Develop the mesial curve by carving more in the apical third. See, we are getting the mesial curve. Now you can appreciate that the root axes are tilted distally, but the curvature of the root is to the mesial and distal. Now even up. Reduce this sharp bulge. As mentioned earlier, this should be inside the maximum mesio-distal width of the crown bulge. Even up slight irregularities. Okay. This cervical portion will be done later. Now we'll start giving a gross tapered shape of the palatal root. It's quite simple. Just carve in a V shape till the apex in the mid. As earlier, it would be safer to first carve a groove at the root end marking. Now carve the taper, carving more towards the apex. Carve it in palatal half portion buccolingually. Keep clear at the base. Don't make it too thin now, because then it might fracture easily. Okay, see, we have achieved a gross root outline from the buccal and also from the palatal. Obviously, the buccal roots will be visible from the palatal aspect. So now let's clean and then we'll proceed. So we are done with the gross carving of the root outline. Now we'll mark the bifurcation point and then carve the inner portion of the root. Okay? Mark 4 mm from the cervical line. This will be the root trunk length. Start with carving in mid by making groove and gradually deepen it. Now start following the outer contour. Carve the groove in V-shape depth-wise on both roots and then in depth. Because if you go straight deep, then the root might fracture. Similarly do for the other root. Carve bevel and then deepen. Follow the outer shape of the root. See the movement of the carver. Start separating the root tips by extending the groove. See, we have achieved a gross shape of the buccal roots. Now we'll carve it from the proximal aspect. First clean it. We'll first describe from the mesial aspect. From proximal aspect, the buccal roots are broader and flatter. It is broad at base which is 2/3 the buccolingual cervical dimension. It's like a rough triangle. Okay? Buccal outline runs upwards and outwards, ending in a blunt apex. The maximum projection of this root is slightly buccal to that of crown. From 2/3 bifurcation point, the lingual outline runs in a straight incline to meet the apex. Now the lingual root is narrower than buccal. It starts straight and then it has a banana-shaped curvature, starting slightly straight till the furcation, and then has a convex lingual outline and concavity towards the buccal. So quite simple. Okay, so first let's merge the cervical portion. Carve excess wax and slowly get close to the cervical line. Okay, carve slightly flat as this is the trunk part. Merge it with the proximal portions crossing the line angles. Even up. See, we have to keep the maximum projection slightly buccal, so carve a little more. Also like this, merge it with the proximal surface crossing the line angle. Check now. Now we just need to make this projection subtle and make this slight taper here. And then make its lingual incline till the furcation. First we'll carve the excess wax near the cervical of the palatal root. Just do it similar to the buccal root here. Connecting with the proximal surface, carve close to the cervical line. Slightly straighten for the trunk part and even up. As discussed earlier, the extent of this projection will be a little lingual to the projection of crown. Okay? So slightly reduce it. Okay, now to develop the curvature, carve more at apex. Carving a convex root shape. Keep clear at base. Now see, slightly straight trunk with convex mid and apical third portion. Now taper buccal root from the buccal outline. Like this. Okay. Now from the proximal, we'll develop the bifurcation of the buccal and palatal root. Now as we discussed on mesial, it will be broad towards the cervical line, covering 2/3 buccolingual width at cervical, approximately here. Now this point of bifurcation of buccal and palatal root will be closer to the cervical line as compared to the furcation on buccal. Okay, so from here, lingual outline will be carved straight to the apex. Roughly mark it like this. Now start deepening the marking. Start making a groove. Now easily carve the palatal root from this furcation point in taper. Mark cuts in this portion and then easily cut it. Start making a groove along this outline. This will become the furcation between the buccal and the palatal roots. Okay, and carve the inner outline of the palatal following the outer shape. Go slow, don't apply too much pressure. See? Continue deepening the gap. Okay, so as we did on the mesial, we'll do on the distal too. Let me level it first. We'll carve this gap on the distal too. First, a brief description of the distal. The distal root is similar to the mesial one, but slightly narrower in size. It starts with a concavity which is continuity from the crown, then it follows straight to apex like this. Its inner or lingual portion runs in incline to meet the apex, while the palatal root is same as on the mesial. First we'll try to carve the bifurcation gap and connect to the other side. Do slowly and cautiously. Now as we carve the taper on this side, carve here too. See, slight bulged part here. Get this in taper first. Okay. Now taper on this side. Carve taper right from the cervical. We'll develop the final taper later, because as of now it will become too delicate to carve from inner side and might fracture. Go very slowly with firm hand to deepen this gap. Don't apply too much pressure, just try to shave it. Keep carving on both sides, this curve and this incline, and then deepen. Do it from both sides. Okay, see? Now it will be easier to deepen the furcation from buccal. Check the furcation level again. Have to extend slightly towards the crown. Now continue deepening. Don't try to go to full depth here, because as we'll carve it from this side, this depth will be easily achieved. Also keep carving palatal root from inner side following the outer shape. This will give you space to carve the buccal root from inner side. Also keep clear at the base. Okay, so let's clear and then proceed. Okay, so we got this shape now. We need to correct these outer outlines of these roots. Here it is okay, just need to make the roots taper and slender. On distal we have to make the buccal root smaller than mesial. Yeah, so let's start. So first we'll get these angulations right. The maximum projection should be around here. This trunk part should be straight, okay? Carve it like this. I'm making gentle carving strokes to make it straight and get the maximum projection to the desired level. Check. A little more. Keep checking from the other side too. Need to carve more near the apical. Merging the surface and making even. Like that. Just a little near apex. Okay, now this seems fine. From distal we have to make it smaller, then this buccal outline will go inwards and mesial root will be very slightly visible. Okay. Now similarly for the palatal root, we'll make this part straight again and then merge with the curve. Okay, see now. Now even up. See the outer outline. It's fine now. From the mesial aspect now, we'll start carving this incline. For palatal, follow the outer curve. First buccal roots. Carve in incline to make taper and blunt apex. Remember not to apply pressure, just shave. Enough for now. For palatal, follow the shape. Also gradually taper it to form blunt apex. Carve in this motion. Keep clear at base also. Do the same from distal too. Go slow. This is slightly speed up. See? Check out the shape coming. Continue inner carving for both roots. Check now. We'll have to make this a blunt apex. First we'll achieve the taper from palatal aspect. Give equal taper on both sides. Also developing the transition from the furcation. As you taper down the root, it is important to keep the base clear. Now on the other side. Lightly run the straight side of the carver to round off the line angles. Okay, let's check. This is going fine. A little leveling at the base. We'll get this final taper at apex at last when we have developed all other features of all the roots. See, this transition should be evened up. As of this distal root, it will be made smaller in size buccolingually. Then this incline will be carved finally. Also it will be tapered at apex at last. Now for buccal, let's go deeper. Carving firmly. These roots will also taper till end following the outer shape of the root. Continue. While deepening, also carve along the inner of the roots in shape. See, I'm reaching through the furcation. Continue. A little more from inside. Carving taper in the apical third. This will further make it easy to carve between the roots. Observe the movement of the carver. Now it is easy to carve in furcation. Now see, you can also round off from here between the buccal roots. But you can skip this one, else you might break the roots. Do it from buccal only. Yeah, now see. Okay, so now we'll start narrowing buccal roots to get the final shape. I think we should make first this outline subtle and smooth. Just gently run a slightly blunt carver. This will also round off any sharp line angle and will make a smooth surface. Start narrowing and tapering the buccal roots. Keeping firm and slow carver movement. See? Continue. Okay, see? Roots are quite fine. Just round off the line angles. Now, as explained earlier, on buccal aspect, root trunk has a deep developmental groove from furcation till the cervical line, which gradually becomes shallow. So just carve a groove near the furcation. Carve this V shape from both roots. Carve deep towards the furcation and less towards cervical. Carve from groove towards the root surface on both roots. See? Now merge it with the outer surface. You can use a beaver tail end of the Zales carver to merge and smoothen the groove. Okay. Rubbing it on all the line angles of the root to round off any sharp line angle left. Also keep the base clear and even so that the root ends are clearly demarcated and visible. Okay, so let's clear and proceed. Okay, so we have carved the roots. Just need to round off and smoothen line angles and carve distal root from distal aspect. So as discussed earlier, its buccal outline starts with a concavity to a short distance and then it goes straight but in buccal direction and tapering with a blunt apex. Okay. The lingual outline furcation will be slightly higher than any other, tapering towards the apex with slight concavity. We'll slightly taper palatal root too from inside. Also, if you can approach this area between the roots, you can taper from this view too and round off. Else you can do from here. Okay. First the main thing, the distal root. Carve the concavity in the cervical. Keep following the contour of root. See? Do a little more. Extend it slightly apical. See now? You should be able to see the mesial root slightly. Continue. Merging the concavity with the remaining portion. See? It seems quite fine now. Involving a little distal half of the buccal portion too. Reduce along the whole length slightly. Very slight mesial is visible. Do a little more. This way we are rounding off any sharp line angle too. Check now. Reduce in the middle part and near the apical. Okay. I think this will do. Now start tapering its lingual outline with slight concavity in mid and merging this part. Also, this buccal end will be slightly inwards. Now start its lingual outline as discussed. First merging this sharp transition and gradually getting the desired contour. Use slightly sharp carver to clear out at apex and define taper. Get a slight concavity in mid. See? Now just smoothen it, lightly running the carver all over. It's very important to always keep the base clear. It defines the limit of your carving. Now let's clean first and then we'll proceed. Okay, Check the roots. Just a slight roughness here. Smoothen it. Be very gentle. Now round off the line angles. All inner and outer line angles. Also need to deepen this developmental groove of furcation. It's shallow now because we have carved the concavity on the distal root. Also round off this line angle, reducing this part from inside, and our root will be done. A little taper at the end of the palatal root too. So first we'll do this groove. Do it as we did earlier. Rounding off the inner line angle of the root. Now contouring it to outer line angle to get the nice rounded root surface. Do it on the other root too. Even up this bifurcation part. Now smoothing it. Okay. Now you can see the bulged part. Need to carve it down. See now, also here. From buccal we need to clear between the root at base. carving the inner side close to the base if possible. Okay. I see slight roughness here, just merging. Just slightly running the carver to get the smooth contours. Now we'll just try to slightly taper the palatal root tip. Don't make it too thin, it might fracture. Keep base clear around apex. Polish all the surfaces using cotton earbud. Just rubbing with firm hand. So we have carved all the roots with the rounded line angles. We'll add one more feature. This mesial root has smooth shallow groove to its length called as fluting. This will be carved similar to the developmental groove carved here or as in the root of the maxillary second premolar. Okay? So first mark a groove here. Like this. Now slightly deepen as we did earlier. Also merging it with the root surface. polish it with earbud. Okay, see the fluting is almost to the full length. Okay, this is fine. Little even up required on the palatal root too. Slightly making it flat, especially in mid mesio-distally, in almost full length. Polish it too. A little clearing and defining at base. Okay, so here is our completed maxillary left first molar. Check out the whole shape, the curvature of root, the cusp tip levels, contours. Check the occlusal. Okay, now try to carve one. I hope this video was useful, so keep practicing and keep carving.